Hello and welcome to CATSweek. I'm Martin O'Neill. At their meeting on September 11th, the Monroe County Commissioners held a moment of silence for victims of the 9/11 attacks, followed by a proclamation declaring September 15th, 2024 as Lake Monroe Day.
Whereas Lake Monroe has been used as a drinking water source to residents of Monroe County since 1967 and currently provides drinking water to over 130,000 people. And Lake Monroe provides recreational boating, fishing, and swimming opportunities to tens of thousands of visitors per year and generates over $40 million in economic impact annually from recreational tourism. And Lake Monroe provides recreational and scenic opportunities that improve the quality of life for county residents, and the lake and its adjacent wetlands provide critical habitat for wildlife, including the bald eagle.
Whereas 2024 marks the 60th anniversary of the construction of Lake Monroe, and Monroe County has taken an active role in protecting the health of the watershed and the water quality of the lake. The Monroe County Stormwater Board has provided financial support for the development and implementation of a watershed management plan and a community action initiative project in collaboration with the Friends of Lake Monroe. Monroe County has shown its dedication to protect and preserve Lake Monroe by ensuring compliance with environmental protections provided by local ordinances and federal statutes.
Whereas every member of our community depends on clean, abundant water and has a responsibility to do their part to protect Lake Monroe as a valuable resource for generations to come. We recognize the vital importance of Lake Monroe and make a commitment as a community to protect and preserve the lake. Now therefore be it resolved by the Monroe County Board of Commissioners does hereby declare Sunday, September 15, 2024 as Lake Monroe Day, proclaimed this 11th day of September 2024.
Later, Planning Director Jackie Jellin said that they will be holding a public hearing on the county's Unified Development Ordinance to receive public feedback on the plans. The public hearing will be held on September 24th at 5:30 p.m. at the Monroe County Courthouse.
We will be having the hearing for the County Development Ordinance on September 24th at 5:30 p.m. in the Nat U Hill Room. Just as a reminder for folks, the MonroeCDO.com website is the place to go for the latest updates. You may have received a postcard in the mail pointing you to our website as well as the date of the hearing. We are taking feedback both in person during the hearing ahead of time via email, or you can also fill out a feedback survey, which is under the useful links section of the CDO website. Just as a reminder, if anyone has any questions, they're welcome to give our office a call, 812-349-2560, or give our office an email at planningoffice@co.monroe.in.us. We look forward to seeing everyone on the 24th, and please contact us if you have any questions.
Later in the meeting, County Attorney Jeff Cockrell asked the Commissioners to approve the issuance of general obligation bonds that would be used to fund county equipment and facilities maintenance, such as airport and park improvements, jail repairs, and more. The GO bond is not expected to exceed $3.1 million.
Yes, this is something you see every year. This is a 3.1 general obligation bond, which we have issued every year for at least the last 17 years, I believe. This is basically how the county keeps up a lot of its capital equipment needs, utilizing this structure. You approve this resolution, and then it would, process-wise, it'll go to the council for approval. They'll do a first reading at their meeting on the 17th and approval in early October. Typically, the project list is what is usually most interesting to people, and so I put it in the agenda cover sheet, and it includes such things as airport improvement, park improvements, including improvements to the restrooms at Flatwood Park and the Karst Athletic Complex, computer, camera equipment, jail repairs, some dump trucks, some generators and some equipment for probation and law enforcement.
The commissioners approved the GO bond issuance unanimously. The Bloomington Board of Public Works met on September 10th. At the meeting, the board heard from Senior Project Engineer Neil Copper about an addendum to a preliminary engineering contract with WSP USA for neighborhood greenway projects.
This is an existing contract with WSP USA to perform preliminary engineering tasks for multiple different neighborhood greenway projects. The existing contract has an overall not to exceed amount of $400,000 with individual tasks approved by task orders. So this addendum 4 contains task order number 3, which includes the final design for the Thornton-Arden neighborhood greenway. The not to exceed amount for this task is $44,975. Staff has reviewed and supports the amendment, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Board member James Roach asked about the plans for the Olive Street design given the narrow nature of the road. Copper responded.
Neil, question about the project, not specifically about the contract, but I'm curious about Olive Street. I know this contract is to do the engineering work, so it hasn't been designed, but are there initial thoughts on how Olive might be designed? That street is very, very narrow.
Yeah, there's been some discussion on that. So the concept for the neighborhood greenway has now been approved by the Bicycle and Pedestrian Safety Commission. With the previous phase, including the Hawthorne and Weatherstone project, we did update the southern edge of the intersection at Olive and Hillside and widened the approach just right at the intersection so that two vehicles going in opposite directions can actually pass, because Olive is very narrow in that block, as I think you're alluding to. The block from there to the south that's very narrow, the current approach is just make sure people are going slowly, make sure people are aware that there are people going in both directions. We are working with Public Works to see if we can resurface, because the pavement condition is pretty poor in that block as well. At this time, there are no large plans for, widening or reducing the crest of the hill or anything on that order.
The board approved the addendum to the contract unanimously. On September 9th, Bloomington Mayor Carrie Thompson heard from city residents at Binford Elementary during her traveling town hall. Mayor Thompson began with an update on her recent city projects initiatives, including the work she has been doing lately pertaining to people experiencing homelessness and encampment enclosures.
So I want to start with some of the things that I have been spending some of my time on lately. Importantly, and probably the bulk of my time lately, has gone towards addressing the rise in street homelessness that we're seeing in our community. We're experiencing what the data now shows us is a really significant growth of people living outside. So that's what we mean when we talk about street homelessness. Of course, for the people who are living outside, this is a real crisis. And for our community, it also has become quite a crisis because it's very hard to meet people's needs when they're outside and moving around. And it is my goal to have a community that can truly say to everyone, we have a roof for you to sleep under tonight. That is the way that we as human beings don't have to spend all of our energy just trying to survive, and instead can really start thriving as human beings at the very top of our human license. So I have been working with, since my 4th day in office, which was the first time that we closed an encampment. That closure was planned before I got into office. I have been hands-on with each of the camp closures that have happened. We are only closing camps when they pose a health and safety risk. We know that it poses other problems when people have to move, and it's my job as your mayor to keep everybody in the community safe. So we've had fires that have gotten out of control. The city ordinance is that you can only have an open fire when you're actively cooking on the fire. We have had other considerable safety issues happening. So we are working with people in the camps to ensure that they are aware of the safety precautions that we're expecting. And we're importantly working with outreach workers. And the main goal, though, is to ensure that everybody in our community has a place that we can offer them, which is a roof over their head and into supportive services. So Heading Home, which is really the umbrella organization that is coordinating all of the service providers, and in fact, a team has written, the Heading Home team has written the Heading Home plan. That is our long-term plan for making sure that homelessness is rare, brief, and non-repeating. As we carry that out, we also have seen this rise in street homelessness, and so the Heading Home team, a small group of them came together to write a housing action plan, and that is a plan to specifically address street homelessness. And so we're starting to work through the components of that plan. It is, of course, it puts hope on the horizon for our community, and it's a lot of work to do all of this coordination. And so we are learning the ropes of how best to coordinate. There are subgroups meeting of care providers, and it is my goal not that we have a perfect plan today, but that we implement this plan and we see where else we need to go next. So we know that this is going to be an incremental improvement plan.
Thompson also shared information about water runoff, street closures, and the city's upcoming budget proposal.
In this group, there may be some people that are interested in plans for slowing down the water runoff. That we have looked at a Sheridan project, which is in the median of Sheridan Drive, sort of, I don't know, 3 or 4 blocks up from Bryan Park. We don't have a timeline or a finalized plan yet because we have been getting neighborhood input and we're looking at the trees that we'd like to preserve, et cetera. So my promise is nothing is happening behind your backs. We are really committed to engaging the neighborhood. It is important, especially as our storms grow more severe and our city is more developed, that we have a plan to mitigate stormwater runoff. And so we're looking at the best projects, and it's going to be a combination of projects. And I am really committed to making these projects look the best way they can possibly look, so that they do manage the stormwater, but they also are not an eyesore to the community, but hopefully more of an enhancement. Let's see, downtown construction. That has been a hot topic this summer. Indiana Avenue has been closed. Our project is pretty much wrapped up there, but now Poplars is under construction. So I know we're experiencing lots of construction, whatever the opposite of joy is, in our community, and grateful for your patience with that. My hat's off to our street crew and our engineering and planning department that have been working really hard to make it as easy as possible to get around downtown. It is the reason that we did not close Kirkwood this year, because the traffic patterns were just going to change so significantly that the additional closure of Kirkwood would have just been really troublesome for the whole community. I guess the last thing I'll say is recently we're spending a lot of time on budget, and I am grateful to our cabinet. The administration has just really a gifted cabinet that shares my commitment to input and collaboration, and they have been working really hard at putting together all of the city's priorities, as heard from both council and from residents, and trying to balance that with a commitment of really trying hard not to increase taxes. We know taxes have gone up. We still have one of the lowest tax rates in Indiana, but we know people are feeling it, especially people who are on fixed income. I am very focused on how we make Bloomington affordable for all kinds of people, and so we have a lot of priorities that we want to get accomplished, and we're not going to fulfill everybody's Christmas list this year, but we're going to do our best to meet the highest and most important needs of the city and plan for when we can implement the rest of the goals on the agenda.
Then Thompson and District 4 City Council Representative Dave Rollo answered questions submitted by local residents. The first question was about annexation and whether the mayor had heard from anyone who does want to be annexed into the city, and if they have had any conversations with the county about the jail being connected to the city's sewer system.
We do hear from people who would like to be annexed into the city. We hear from them in various ways. Frequently at public meetings, they will talk to me about, is there any way, I'm in one of the areas for annexation, we didn't get in during this process, is there any way for me to get in, or how could I influence the process? So that is a relatively frequent conversation that I've had. It also, I think, is worth noting that I've had people come to both town halls and to office hours, mostly that want to talk to me privately about what annexation really means. Many of them have been involved in in their neighborhood conversations against annexation, and what we're really hearing is that people really didn't feel welcomed in at all during the annexation process. And so I'm looking for ways to have some more open conversations with people. We are in an appeal process for the annexation, so that's where we are right now. The initial, both the constitutional and the areas 1A and 1B were found in favor of the citizens against annexation. We are appealing that decision, and I'll just share why. The studies and the patterns of cities that do not annex versus those that do. Cities with zero elasticity, meaning they lock their boundaries where they are, both the county and the city end up not accelerating any economic development. And in fact, most of them go into some kind of decline, relatively speaking. Whereas with some elasticity, the cities and the counties around them end up really prospering both together. So the studies are pretty conclusive about that. In the absence of a decision on the appeal process, we are talking to several people who are interested in voluntary annexation. So we're open to that and in conversations about that. And that brings me to the new jail. If the Vernal Pike property is chosen, I told the county we would absolutely welcome that. There are a few properties in between that Vernal Pike jail property and the city limits, and so we would work with those property owners to see about voluntary annexation so we could get contiguity with the city in order to annex the jail property. And of course, the other city services all come with it, including bus routes.
After Thompson's response, Councilmember Rollo remarked that he disagrees with the mayor's ideas of growth and said he is skeptical about the need for annexation.
Carrie and I agreed on a lot of things, and she's doing a lot of good, but we don't necessarily agree on growth. And just by show of hands, how many here feel that Bloomington is too small and needs to grow? Needs to get bigger. Okay, a few hands. Okay, like a bigger city. 5 or so, 6 maybe. Okay, that's fine. I mean, I'm a skeptic in terms of growth. I've seen studies that show just the opposite, that there's a cost to growth. There's a cost in terms of pollution, congestion, crime, and it's a cost to taxpayers as well. There's a study out of Albemarle County in Virginia that shows that there's a cost of growth. So I want to represent my constituents. If you feel that it's, compelling reasons why we need to grow, I want to listen to you. But I also come from a perspective that I want full cost accounting, and I want to know, what are we going to grow into? Can anybody answer what if you want to grow? What do you want to be? Do you want to be Indianapolis? Do you want to be something bigger? What do you want to grow to the edge of the county? I don't know. So that's something that we need to think about, because there is a cost to water and everything. So I would much rather build wealth within a community by recirculating wealth in the community, not just grow. So I think that the cost of growth needs to be accounted for, and I'd like to see a study to do that, actually. I was opposed to annexation. I thought there was a process problem. It estranged county residents, estranged our colleagues in the county government who we need to work with, and things like jail and other interlocal agreements and things like that. I thought that was a total mistake. And I think that we don't have what's called concurrency. We've been talking about concurrency, or I used to talk about it. I have been for 20 years. And this is the idea of, are our services ready to expand? And in my book, they're not. I mean, just take public safety, for instance, which we're trying to catch up on. But we need 130 police officers in order to police the entire county, okay? And we have right now 86. So we need to get up to our level of 105 before we expand further. So I want to work with our county colleagues. I think that they're right. They've developed a comprehensive plan for the county which protects farmland, which I think is very important because we have we have scenic and aesthetic beauty in this area, and I think sprawl is an enemy to that.
The Mayor's Traveling Town Hall series will continue in November, where she will field questions from residents in City Council District 5. The Bloomington Utility Service Board met on September 9th. The board president, Megan Parmenter, pointed out that they are being charged monthly credit card fees by Chase Bank.
I'm going to do this every month. I'm just pointing out our credit card fees from Chase are $34,087.75, and our NPC credit card fees are $347.05. I know I spoke with Kat last week about we're working on that solution, so we'll hopefully have that in place sooner than later, so we're not paying those fees every month. And I know that our team is also working on the fair rate to go back to sanitation to cover their part of that. So,
Assistant Director of Finance, Matt Havey, addressed Parmenter's concerns about the credit card charges. Havey said that moving forward, the customer will be charged the credit card fee. Parmenter followed up by asking if the customers will be notified of the change.
I just want to give an update on the credit card fees, that we are in a place to have in effect on January 1st, that those fees are paid by the customer.
Awesome, thank you. Can you tell us how our customers will be notified about that change?
We're hopefully going to put some notifications on the bills. I don't know how closely you'll get your bills, but there's a section where we can send notes there. Probably do some inserts possibly as well, and then obviously on the websites and Facebook and things like that.
Great, thank you.
Could you maybe also put it in the email that goes out with the bill?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Because sometimes I don't read the bill.
Sure.
I read the
Okay, fair enough.
And what does that look like for our customers? When they come to pay their bill, how does that?
It'll just, let's say your bill was $100 and the fees are 2.5%. You will be, as a customer, will be charged $102.50. 100 of that will come to us as the utility, and the $2.50 will go straight to the payment collector.
Okay, so the full credit card fee is 2.5%.
I believe that's the case, yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
whatever it is,
Yeah.
it's fully on the customer.
Yes, it is, yes.
Thank you
Yep.
for your work with that and investigating that and implementing that.
Board member Seth Debro asked if there would be an effort to provide more customer support for individuals who don't want to pay with a credit card, not that they will be charged the fee. Havey said there are already a variety of alternative ways to pay.
We have a lot of options. You can pay on credit card on the phone. You can drop off payment up front. You can do AquaPay. You can pay online. There's a Dropbox out there for cash.
Here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just for clarity, if they pay with cash, we don't give change, but we do apply any change they would have gotten to the next bill.
It's great to know. Thank you.
The Bloomington Utility Service Board will meet again on September 23rd. The Ellettsville Town Council met on Monday, September 9th, and discussed their 2025 budget. Clerk Treasurer Noel Conyer pointed out that not all items on the budget are being fully funded by tax money. Some are being funded with cash reserves. Councilmember Scott Oldham explained that while the budget is not balanced, it is funded.
While it's a funded budget, while it's not a balanced budget, it is funded budget. And when we talk about spending down cash reserves, that is normally, and it's still within the projections, of what is turned back from this year being applied to next year. So it's not like we're dipping into the rainy day fund or any general fund reserves beyond what's already, for the most part, in play.
Town Manager Mike Farmer said that although the budget appears to be extensive and expensive, it's actually not enough to fund all of the goals of all the town departments.
Once again, this is a product of the department heads working real hard and diligent, and although we had an aggressive agenda for how we could spend and what we would spend money on, this is what we were left with, and we're just glad to have this.
To fund the budget, Conyer said that the combined tax rates for all the funds would be 0.7579%. She said that the estimated rate is overinflated, and she doesn't expect it to be over 0.65% in reality.
When we advertise, we've always advertised higher to make sure that we capture everything that we can capture.
The budget will be back for a final public hearing at the next Town Council meeting on September 23rd. The budget is available to view on the Town of Ellettsville website. And that's all for CATSweek. Thanks for joining us. For CATS and WFHB, I'm Martin O'Neill.